Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday, February 6th edition of StudentLoanJustice.org. Hope everybody is doing well out in the world. Lot is going on right now, ladies and gentlemen. Our opposition is getting fierce. Like, it's getting almost kind of funny in a way. So last week, I can't even count the number of hit pieces that came out against us in places like Forbes magazine, many other places, but let's just say that the student loan swamp is freaking out right now. It's a good thing, but we have to respond to this stuff too, guys. I knew this was going to happen, and here, lo and behold, it's happening. These people are losing their minds. And I might add, I wrote a recent article that you should check out on our Medium site. It's called The Student Loan System is Dead. The Pandemic Killed It. It's actually quite humorous. I was trying to emulate my friend and a very funny writer, Matt Taibbi. So I tried. There's only one Matt Taibbi, obviously, but it's true. There's a lot of funny, humorous things happening right now. Watching our opposition try to shut us down. Hey, by the way, if you have any questions or comments, throw them up on either, if I can see them on either Facebook or on Twitter, I will gladly respond to them. It's not always guaranteed I can do that, but if I can see them, I will happily and gladly respond to them. So I don't know. There's just so many funny examples of what's going on right now. All of these people, writers at Forbes magazine and people like Jason Delisle and Beth Akers and I'd say even Adam Levitin, who I only kind of knew about over the past couple weeks in the first place. But certainly our opposition, the first few people that I named, and I have to include Mark Kantrowitz in that as well. For years, these people were the sort of cool-headed, rational analysts, and they sort of had this veneer of cool confidence, like they pretended to be experts, and everybody bought it, hook, line, and sinker for years. And they used these errors, these AIRS errors, to essentially defend the lending system and keep the train rolling down the tracks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you the track is at an end. The lending system is now catastrophically failed. And ironically or appropriately, student loans are at this point have become, in my view, one large, sometimes painful, national joke. I mean, it's getting silly. These previously cool-headed, rational analysts are now saying some increasingly uncool, frankly, ridiculous things. Like, I don't know, for example, Jason Delisle, just an asshole, but that's a little beside the point. For years and years, he was making all these stupid claims, and people would just believe it, hook, line, and sinker. And I don't even want to get into it, but put it this way. This guy was sucking on the student loan tit for many years, and he'd publish pretty frequently all these hit pieces against the borrowers. People bought what he said, hook, line, and sinker. Well, and, Jason pretended to be a conservative. He'd be like, oh, the government has no business being in the lending business. And this is the worst kind of bad government. And, he'd be playing the conservative line. Well, soon as the cracks started appearing, like the foundational cracks started appearing in what is now a catastrophically failed lending scam, all of a sudden, Jason exchanged his sword for a pom-pom. And like the last time I looked, Jason was writing things like, student loan debt is actually pretty good debt. Good debt. So Jason Delisle is now calling student loans good debt. It's hilarious. If you've been following this if you've been following this topic like I have, seeing these swamp minions so abruptly change their tune. It's frankly hilarious, and I love pointing it out, which is what I did in that Medium article. Student loan system is dead. The pandemic killed it. So have a look. So yeah, it's getting stupid, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. So there's a good thing that's good and it's bad. So the good news of the most recent week, and it's actually very good news, as on a substantial front, the Department of Education announced publicly that it was withdrawing its opposition to a student loan borrower in bankruptcy court. And that happens from time to time. In fact, most of the very rare instances where people get discharges on their student loans in bankruptcy, the Department of Education will oppose it. Ultimately, they'll withdraw their opposition. They will stand down. Usually, the borrower will typically get his debt written off, but it gets settled under seal, so the borrower can't say anything. And obviously, the bad guys aren't saying nothing, so nothing changes, and that sucks. But in this particular case, the Department of Education, most interestingly, the Undersecretary of Education, James Kvaal, publicly announced that they are withdrawing, not only that they are withdrawing their opposition to this one particular case, but also that they are reviewing how they handle federal student loans generally in bankruptcy. And that is a very good thing, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we have been pushing the Biden administration since way back in Iowa to include a pledge to return bankruptcy protections by executive order. And what that means is not opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. So it looks like we are, knock on wood, we are on the precipice, on the verge of that happening. Hopefully completely and totally. But that remains to be seen. You know, a lot depends on how hard we push, ladies and gentlemen. This stuff does not happen in a vacuum. We need you here with us fighting. You can't watch this on TV and think the problem's going to get solved and like money's going to fall into your lap or whatever. No. It doesn't work that way. You've got to help us fight. The only reason we have a good bankruptcy bill to fight for right now, S2598, is because of this group. Arguably, but I think it's pretty clear. I don't think anyone would be talking about canceling student loans by executive order today, but for this group. You know, it's our group that started the petition at change.org/cancel student loans way before anybody was talking about canceling student loans by executive order in the news. And in fact, the very first news article published that mentions the terms canceling student loans and by executive order was a June 2019 Vice News interview that we did, talking about that very exact topic. So that all started with us, guys, and it took a lot of people on this group making phone calls, doing Twitter stuff, and a lot of other stuff, calling senators, calling the media. It took one heck of a lot of people on this group actually doing that sort of work. And we all owe them a huge debt of gratitude. But, you know, if the other people that are doing the work on this group are like me, they don't want a pat on the head necessarily. What they want is for you to step up and help. It's just that simple. You know, if you go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, you can see daily actions that we are doing. There's two things we're fighting for, ladies and gentlemen. Number one, the most important, is the return of bankruptcy protections to all student loans. This lies at the core of this problem. And whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy doesn't matter. Very few people will have to file for bankruptcy when we get the right back. The point is, we will not see the second thing that we're fighting for, which is the cancellation of all federally owned student loans by executive order. We're not going to see that second thing until we get that first thing. So unless and until we get the threat You probably don't have to file, but unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, as the founders called for in the Constitution, by the way, we're not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation. It just is not going to happen. As long as bankruptcy remains gone from these loans, we're going to see these fake up to $50,000, up to $10,000 loan cancellations. It's fake, ladies and gentlemen. We've been doing this for 17 years now. If it wasn't fake, if there was even a tiny chance that it would be meaningful, I would say that. I'm not saying that because it's not that. We will not see a meaningful student loan cancellation, broad, deep, wide, perhaps total. We will not see that until we get the threat of bankruptcy back. So S-2598 is a bill in the Senate right now. It will return bankruptcy protections to federal student loans that are more than 10 years old. I don't like that little caveat there, the more than 10 years old thing. There's no good reason to treat student loans any differently from all other loans in bankruptcy proceedings. In fact, if you think about it, student loans should be treated more generously or more kindly to the borrower in bankruptcy proceedings than other loans. More generous and friendly, not way, way less generous, not like vicious and evil and like you don't even have the protection right now. So this bill does that. It's worth fighting for. I wouldn't be fighting for it if it was not worth fighting for, ladies and gentlemen. I've got student loans of my own. I want these loans gone. I want them gone. I'm done. So help us fight. Go to our website, go to our daily actions, do a month, 2 months worth of our daily actions. If you really want to help, that's what you'll do. It's not hard. You pretty much need a Twitter account. That's like 90% of our daily actions is Twitter stuff. A few phone calls here and there, a few emails here and there, a few other things, but we try and keep it simple. We try and keep it to Twitter. Oh, and by the way, if you follow us on Twitter, Student Loan Just #1, that's really helpful. That helps really get into the action. You know, we typically do most of our stuff on Facebook, like that's where I spend most of my time, but increasingly Twitter is kind of cool. I have to say, I resisted Twitter for many years, but we have used Twitter to great effect to directly reach out and touch all kinds of people, senators, congressmen, members of the media, people like James Kval, the Undersecretary of Education, who now follows us on Twitter. So Twitter's kind of handy, and I'm in a way it is saddening to me to have to say that, but it's true. So yeah, follow us on Twitter if you can. So yeah, guys. And by the way, if you follow us on Twitter, you will see that we are hitting people like Larry Summers, the former Harvard president. We're hitting him very hard right now, and he deserves to be hit. And the more people we have on Twitter helping us hit him, the more effective we'll be. We're also hitting people like Virginia Fox, who's one of the worst people in Congress. She hails from North Carolina. You can see what we say for herself. But, you know, we're also putting interesting data up there, like the fact. And this is a fact, ladies and gentlemen. This is we've published like 5, 6, 7 articles in the past 2 months or so. We do a lot of research and we publish our research like a lot. And the most important research finding we have made in recent months is the fact that 64.3% of all student loan borrowers were not able to pay their loans even before the pandemic. Let me see if I can do a quick screen share for you. I don't know. Why not? Let me just show you okay, there it is right there. So you can see full on over half of all borrowers were just not paying at all. So that's 50.4%. But, you know, there was also additional 13.9% of the people out there who technically were in repayment through one of the IDR programs, income-driven repayments like Pay, Repay, IBR, ICR. And technically they were paying, but they were making $0 payments. So if you factor those in, it comes out that even before the pandemic, way less than half of the borrowers were making payments on their loans. So that's pretty significant, I think. I think it goes a long ways to show that even before this pandemic, this lending system was going over the cliff. So fewer than half of all borrowers were paid before the pandemic. Almost nobody is paying now during the pandemic. And if and when they actually try and turn this lending system back on May 1st, nobody's going to pay, guys. Nobody's going to pay. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to keep paying because I'm scared. Well, first of all, I think people are way more afraid of this failed lending system than they should be. Like, really, this lending beast is afraid of us way more than we should be afraid of it. And in my humble opinion, my personal opinion, it is not only unwise, but I think it's unpatriotic to ever pay another dollar into this failed lending beast. You know, the default rate for subprime home mortgages was 20%, 1 in 5. Well, we now know that the default rate for people who went to college in 2004 and were borrowing less than a third of what people are borrowing today is double that. It's 40%, default rate of 40% for people who went to college in 2004 and were only borrowing a third of what people are borrowing today. So for everybody walking around with student loans right now, my best estimate is that the default rate was going to be something like 65, 70, 75 or something percent, even before the pandemic. And then the pandemic happened. So come on, guys, we're in cartoon territory here. The only reason this lending system even still exists is because the federal government owns it. But that's no excuse. This is a failed lending catastrophe by all rational metrics or measures. In my humble opinion, if you ever pay another dollar into it, it's not only unwise, but it's unpatriotic. I recommend everybody out there start bulletproofing themselves. We would like to see a good, clean death, a quick, clean, socially energizing, economically massively stimulating, a good death to this lending program where President Biden does the right thing, doesn't cancel up to 10,000, up to 50,000 on this bullshit, clears the debt, ends this lending scam, uses this whatever we got left in this pandemic to reinvent higher education funding in this country. Put the colleges on a diet, actually, is my own editorial opinion. But anyways, that's not our core principle, one of our core beliefs, but it is my personal belief. That's what needs to happen, you know, and that's the good, quick, clean death that everybody comes out of well. The alternative is this dystopian, socially, probably civilly unrestful, maybe even violent unwinding of this lending scam that takes years and crushes hundreds, tens of millions of people, more lives. You know, this lending system will not go down without a fight, ladies and gentlemen. And the fight starts with you sitting there. I'm telling you guys, you have no idea how important you are. You know, we need you in this fight. We don't need you sitting on the sidelines eating popcorn and, you know, cheerleading and like waiting and watching and worrying. That has never solved any problems from time immemorial. It has never. Waiting, watching, and worrying and expect that somebody else is going to pull your weight for you has absolutely never worked. And it's not going to work now. And if you think you're better than us and that like you're above the fray, that you don't have to get your hands dirty and help us fight, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're not better than us. You're the same as us. We need your help. And until you jump into the water and the water is fine and stand up for yourself, nobody is going to pull your weight for you. That has always been true. The reverse of that has never been true. Again, from time immemorial. Hey, I see we have a couple comments here from from Charmaine Smith. Hey, Charmaine, up there in, well, I'm not going to disclose your location, but I know where you are. So what about tweets to the Secretary of Education, Charmaine says. Charmaine, I like where you're going with that. Yes, indeed. We are doing exactly that. Like right when James Caval on Thursday, or was it Friday, right after James announced that they were withdrawing their opposition to that bankruptcy case, I immediately replied to that tweet and I said, there's two things that we need from the Department of Education, James. Number one, what did I say? I said, number one, James, you need to issue an executive order. You need to stop opposing student loan borrowers on all federal student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. You need to do that. Let me tell you exactly what he said so I can find it here. In fact, let me share my screen with you because this is like a new thing that I like to do. So in fact, what I said to James, I said, James Caval, there are two things that we need from you. Where is it? Hold on one second. I'm going to find it. I promise. First of all, look at these cool graphs. The average age of student loan borrowers is not going down as one would think. It's going up. Here is that thing that I showed you earlier. I love this photo from Kyle in Maryland, Maryland. Guy whipping people. One guy stands up, a couple people stand up. Soon the whipper becomes the guy who's bowing down to everybody else. Here's a very interesting graph comparing federal student loans to all other loans. See, this is the sort of quick informational nature of Twitter that it's pretty important. Here's our thing to Larry Summers. Anyways, you can go check it out for yourself. Student loan just number one. But what we said to Mr. James Caval, K-V-A-A-L, son of a bitch. I'm going to find it, I promise. What I said to James was that, I didn't even say thanks. Maybe I should have. But what I said to James, like 300 people retweeted this thing, so it should just like totally pop up. But what I said to James is that we need you to do two things. We need you to stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court completely. And the second thing I said, what did I say? I think I said something like you need to cancel student loans broadly. Okay, here we go. That's right. Yeah, it all had to do with bankruptcy. So the two things that we needed, and you can see it here, the two things that I said that we needed, number one, stop opposing all federal student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. Number two, push Congress, push the Senate, push the House to repeal U.S. Code 523A8, which is the one line of federal code that makes student loans, both private and federal, uniquely non-dischargeable in bankruptcy court. So those are the two things, but really is the most important thing, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Biden was, and I included an article that shows very clearly that Joe Biden indeed is obligated to return bankruptcy to student loans by executive order. And in fact, he should have done it on day one as president. Joe Biden said he was endorsing Elizabeth Warren's bankruptcy plan, and Elizabeth Warren's bankruptcy plan included an executive order on day one that would order the Department of Education to stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. I love Twitter, Charmaine. I don't love Twitter. I hate Twitter, but Twitter seems to work. So help out, guys. Student loan just number one. Go there. Charmaine says, share this one again. Thank you, Charmaine. You need to get into this game like Charmaine is. You need to help us share out there, guys. I mean, we're kicking ass. And this group right here, as unlikely as it may sound, is the beating heart of this battle. We wouldn't have a bankruptcy bill but for us. We wouldn't be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order but for us. And as unlikely as it may seem, you have no idea how important you are. None of the stuff that we've gotten done has ever happened by just me or one person making it happen. No. It has never worked like that. We need to flex our muscle. We've got a million people on our petition. We've got a couple 100,000 people across all of our other platforms. We need you to help, because that muscle is meaningless unless you help us flex that muscle. And that's the thing that I never realized. The bigger a group gets, the more easy it is for people to hide in the crowd. And I don't like that. That pisses me off. I'm working very hard over here. I've seen Charmaine work very hard. I've seen, I think, Leslie as well. I've seen many people doing the hard, not hard work, but it's just work. It's just effort. I've seen a lot of people making that effort. And, but for every Charmaine and Leslie out there, there are probably 20 people who are not doing shit. And I hate that. In fact, if you've been watching us and you've been in our group for more than, say, a year and you've never done anything, why don't you just get the F off of our group and leave? Because you're dragging us down. We don't need you waiting and watching and worrying and barking orders and trying to direct and all this nonsense. We need you helping with us. We need you helping where you live. We need you joining your state chapter group and helping getting them going. We need you on Twitter. We need you making phone calls. In fact, this week we are going to be calling, all of us, including you, I hope, are going to be calling both of our senators and pushing them both very hard to co-sponsor S-2598. This is the key to the whole ball game, ladies and gentlemen. When we get bankruptcy back, it is a very direct path between that and getting Joe Biden to widely, broadly, perhaps totally cancel student loans. So this bill is important, ladies and gentlemen. You have no idea. So I see some other comments. Leslie says, it's been a crazy weekend. People are feeling such anguish over these student loans. Yeah, well, misery loves company, Leslie. We've been fighting this battle for 17 years. And it's, and I can empathize with a lot of the real harm, psychological, social, actual, physical harm that has been done to people and their families over the years under the yoke of this predatory lending scam. I get that. But at the same time, it does no one any good to sort of sit around on the group and bitch to the choir. And I'm not saying you're doing that, Leslie. I actually see you doing a lot of stuff out there. But I just want to further belabor the point that we need you in this fight with us, ladies and gentlemen. You can't sit there and do nothing, because nothing will happen when you do that. Particularly, people who live in southern states right now. So places like Texas, Florida, North South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, Missouri, Indiana, and some northern states as well. Places like Michigan, and like Idaho, and like Nevada, and like did I say North South Carolina? I said, Alabama is important. There's a whole bunch of states. There's 18 states where student loan debt exceeds the entire state budget. And those are the states that I just mentioned, plus a few more. South Dakota, we need people in these states taking this information to their governor. We really need people out there doing that. Oh, I'm still on screen sharing, aren't I? Okay, let me just turn that off. We really need people out there joining their state chapters. You go to our website, studentloanjustice.org. You will see that. Studentloanjustice.org. You can go to our state chapter group and help get your state chapter group running. If you want to lead your state chapter, that's really helpful. We need your leadership. It's super helpful. And now is the time. All politics are local, as they say, and how true that is. There's a million things that you can be doing. Like we're all pretty smart people. We've all been to college. If you go to our Medium, thing, and if you read the most recent 5 articles, take an hour and a half, enjoy yourself. Read our most recent 5 articles. Take your time, ingest all that stuff. That's all that you need to know to be a very effective student loan justice warrior. It doesn't take much. And you'll be glad that you did. You'll be glad to know the important things about this nationally threatening, unconstitutional, viciously predatory, and now catastrophically failed lending scam. You'll be way more effective talking to your redneck knee-jerk uncle who goes, when you borrow money, you got to pay it back. Why should my taxpayer dollars be used to pay for your college? Yeah, you can answer all those people once you read those 5 or 6 most recent articles that we've written at Medium. Do that. We need you smart. We need you helping us. Everybody's got their own unique skill set and talents and their own networks and their own little connections and their own ideas. Some of us are artists. We need all that. We need all of those skill sets. We need those. We need you helping us according to whatever you can do. But the most easy thing, as I said, is go and do our daily actions. Go to our website and do our daily actions. It will help. So, man, we've gone a little bit longer tonight, guys, than I was planning on going. We're well over 30 minutes now, so I'm going to wrap it up. This coming week is just extraordinarily important, ladies and gentlemen. Extraordinarily important. We need you helping us. We need you fighting with us. So please don't let us down. Check back here on a daily basis. Things are just that important. And as I said, when you don't help, nothing gets done. You have no idea how important you are. If just one person, it only takes one person on this group to convince Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia to stand up, or maybe Governor Greg Abbott in Texas, maybe Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida. Only takes one person to convince one governor to stand up and say, Mr. President, enough. I will not have the great state of Florida, my state, Ron DeSantis would say. I am not going to have my state conquered and enslaved by this federal unconstitutional debt. Mr. President, cancel these loans. When Ron DeSantis or Brian Kemp or Greg Abbott or Bill Lee in Tennessee, when the governors of any of those states actually stand up and say that, that is the death knell, the true death rattle of this lending system. And one person can make that happen. That could be you. But we'll never know unless you try. Will we? No, we won't. Get inspired. Get off your ass. You should be proud to be fighting this fight. I'm very proud to be fighting this fight. I don't care what the haters say. The founding fathers are on our side. 45 million people in the country are on our side. 44 million don't know about us, and they won't know about us unless you tell them. So tell them. But more than that, guys, tens or hundreds of millions of people are going to follow in our footsteps. And if they can do to student loans what they did, or if they can do to other loans what they did to student loans, then this country is sunk. And believe me, I'm hearing murmurs on the street about the bad guys who would love to do the same thing they did to student loans to like medical debt. That supposedly is the next head on the chopping block. So guys, get into this fight. It's historically important. The founders are on our side. 45 million people are on our side. Tens or hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps are on our side, though they may not yet even be born. They're counting on you. So step up. We are the pioneers. Be the pioneer. Accept that responsibility and help us. So All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there at that. Let's make this the strongest week ever for student loan justice. Keep us posted as to your successes. We love to brag on cool stuff that our members are getting done, and they're getting done a lot, but we need way more. Maybe the very last thing I'll say is if you can donate at this time, be really helpful. It's just there's not even a donate button on our website anymore. I took it down because nobody uses it, but which is fine. But studentloanjustice.org/donate. That's it. Go there and help out if you can. We need to raise a couple bucks this week. Okay, guys, we'll hang in there. Good luck. Godspeed. God bless everybody.